Well, there you go.
What Torah is it?
We're starting Mitzvah Shem Lamed Dalet, Torah Lamed Dalet. Why is it so? It is, okay. It is what it is. Great. So first of all, good Chodesh to everyone. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. It's an auspicious time, Baruch Hashem, to start again the shir here in the shul. Being that I'm not totally locked on what seder we should adopt, being that I checked it last time that we started recording on Zoom was Torah tests. But we didn't record anything until then. So one possibility was to start with Torah Aleph and record it. That's one possibility. The other possibility is to start from Torahs that are I don't know, so basically, random, but things that have to, I would say, more or less seminal Torahs. Good evening. So we are starting Torah Lamed Dalet, and this is a Torah. This is a Torah that
Yeah. Yeah.
ואתם תהיו עם מלאכת כהנים וגוי קודש. אלה הדבורים שתדבר בני ישראל. So this Torah, like the other Torahs, Rabbeinu starts with the Maimar, and he tells brings up the problem and it brings the solution on a general way, and then Rabbeinu goes into details. So the first thing is that, oh man, shame broke my heart, shattered my heart. I know the derisions and the humiliations, they break the heart of a person. Vatikono, and the tikkun for that, that a person needs to connect to the nakuda that has to do the relevant nakuda for that's relevant for you at this point in time. And this is the thing that removes the shame and that is covering that's breaking one's heart. Basically, what we want to say is that the basic principle is that a person can overcome anything. If a person has a munah, he can overcome anything. The one thing that a person cannot overcome is cherpa.
Is what?
Cherpa is busha. Shame. A person that feels ashamed, feels a cherpa, there's no answer that except to be such a bulvan that you just don't care, you don't feel the shame. But the thing that really breaks the person, breaks the heart of a person, is shame. Otherwise, there's a munah, you have a munah, everything is fine, everything is okay, everything is peachy. Why would that person break? Because there's shame involved. You can find that principle at play many times. in relationship in the home. The thing that causes men to run away from talking to their wives and figuring things out, whatever it is because women, their role is to cleanse the demionis from a person. That's demionis, the fantasies.
Oh, yeah.
Their job is to defantasize you. That's their job. And the way that they're doing it is through opposition. A seller is a connector. That's what the Baruch Hu says, Lo tov yasa odom levado. It's not good for the person to be alone. A seller is a connector. I'll give him assistance against him. The syntax of this particular pasuk is a bit strange. Why not? To make a person that it's good for him to be alone, for him to be alone. Why was that? What is it? What is it? The prerequisite that Baruch Hu made an Adam, and it's not good for the Adam to be alone. Okay. And then we say as a connector, I will give him an assistance. What kind of assistance? Connector. It's not that will oppose him. There are so many contradictions over here. If you're going to help him, why connector? Come and help him. Lend a shoulder. But what this pasuk is really telling us, we can say that Lo tov heyas ha'odom levado means that when a person is alone, he cannot improve. He cannot become tov. I mean, the animals, almost oilam, they are what they are. Some good people, some bad people, an animal which is kind. And basically, it's just working by instincts. The way the animal is, or the way the animal in people form are. They act true to form. This is what they are. That's what they go with. There's no quest for self-improvement. If all you're dealing with is this world, what's it got to do with anything? The whole idea is just, to have fun. Yeah, to have fun, to have things working your way. What's in other words, the kavana of the bria is toiv. The bria was created for goodness. In fact, to go even deeper into that, the world is actually created for pleasure. But the question is, you have your choice. Either you have a pleasure from worldly things, or you have a pleasure from basking in the light of the Shekhinah, that's the ultimate good. Rizal says that the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world is because of the nature of the good to give this good to somebody else. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the ultimate good, and there's no greater good than to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To bask in the light of Hashem. If you want to get a little example of that, you can actually do it on the flip side of things. So, what is the difference between Yiras Ha'inish and Yiras Ha'roimenos? Between fear, of reprisal, fear of punishment, and yes, I mean, you're so. Avtachna gave a mashal that said that Yiras Ha'inish is when you look ahead, and half a mile away you see a lion roaming free. If you have any sense in you, you don't go, hey, pussycat, you don't do that. What you do is you get the heck out of there. That's called Yiras Ha'inish. You look at something which is threatening, and you avoid it. Yiras Ha'roimenos is akin to, again, taking the negative example from which you can imagine the positive, because there's no other way, to give this kind of explanation, to explain something like this. Yiras Ha'roimenos would be if you see a lion 10 feet from you. You're not going nowhere. Not because the lion is going to do anything. The fear is totally paralyzing, to the point that you almost like cease to exist as a separate being. All you are is just a huge bundle of fear. That's it. There's nothing there, nothing else there. You're not looking to see what color is the mane of the lion. It's a big lion, it's a small lion. All these things, they don't come into play. You just, even if you would have a gun, unless many times, you're frozen in such fear that you can't even move, to use your gun, something like that. Take this thing and flip it over. That kind of all-encompassing yira, fear, that removes the self from you. You're totally in the moment, in the hashpah of the lion. Flip it for a positive experience, and you'll get what's the pshat of Yiras Ha'roimenos. What's the pshat of tzaddikim, tzaddikim sit and enjoy the radiation of the Shekhinah. You're talking about such an overpowering experience of joy and of pleasure that the only way that you can sort of like understand what it is if you're swimming in the pool and somebody shouts, "Shark!" Okay. So, but I don't know, whatever it is. The shark went into the pool. Anyhow, whatever it is, but that kind of freezing terror, but flip it to the good. Then you get you can get the same, something similar when you're standing before an Adam Gadol. Real Adam Gadol is I remember years ago, I had, many years ago, 40 some odd years ago, I had some, I didn't understand certain Rambam that seemed to have some contradictions with some other things. I'm not sure exactly what it is. So I lived in Rehov Rashbam, which is the street of Hamkanievsky lived on. I mean, his father lived right opposite me, the Stipler, lived opposite my house. So So I decided I'm going to go to Reb Chaim Kanievsky and ask him to explain to me what's, how do you make sense of this Rambam? It contradicts this, that. And I came to visit him, and obviously it wasn't like today. I mean, he was sitting in his balcony, with the stender and learning. And, I came, he actually was in his room, and I went to his room and he asked me, what is it? So I tried to talk, I tried to tell him what the Rambam was saying, and I couldn't open my mouth. I was so frozen with awe that I could not say anything. I just said, Rambam. So, he was very kind, and he went, okay, he says, let's open up the Rambam and take out the Rambam and open it up and let's take a look, whatever it is. What are you talking about? And then we got into it. I was thought I could not say a word. I was so frozen with awe. I wasn't afraid he was going to beat me up. It wasn't years or so. It was years of remnants. The busha comes from the what do you call ahavas tovos, good loves, and bad loves. Basically, there's only one love. And bad love is love being misdirected. The only ahava that there is between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the only love that exists. Now that love is cloaked. It's been melubash. It manifests itself in different things that you love, in your wife, in sushi, I don't know, watching the news, whatever it is. It's just reading book. I don't know, watching sports. I don't know, whatever there might be. The thing is that this is all we call, this is the love between you and Kadosh Baruch Hu. The love between you and Kadosh Baruch Hu is an extremely profound concept that this was the Balatana speaks about it at great length. He says, like the love, and Rabin also speaks about it, but the love which is beyond the midas, beyond the traits, is the love beyond the days. And he says, what is the love beyond the days, beyond the midas? He says, the love of a father to his son before the son is born. Before the son is born. I mean, love is gematria echad, one. The father and the son are united on an extremely deep level. The Balatani explains, I didn't read the whole thing, but basically what is when he speaks about Shofar, yes, Shofar. So the only thing I remember from what he's saying is it's a man called Kol Yaakov. So he says that every two concepts, every two bechinas, every two manifestations, and mitzias, that where one is the cause of the other, there's always an in-between intermediary stage that brings that causes the result to become, to manifest itself. So he goes, for instance, he says a father, and then he says what it is that the father has to go through in order, to progenate a son. What's the mechanism? That drop. And that drop afterwards creates, with the woman, creates a son, a living person. Now, when you're taking a look at the drop itself, the mechanism, it is so much more, I would say, ethereal, so much more abstract, much more sophisticated, so much more closer to the brain. It's a brain drop, basically. It's what it is. Okay. It's just like, the consists of the brain in a single drop. An unbelievable concept. It's much more sublime than the person himself. The person himself is just or you take, for instance, a tree. Okay, a tree has a fruit. Now, the fruit itself is being eaten by an animal. Inside of it, let's say a peach. Okay, inside the fruit there is a seed. That seed is covered by two halves of a shell that is actually, like welded on the seam. Inside is a very sensitive, zera. This is very sensitive. Now, what happens is the animal eats it, and the animal goes somewhere else. The fruit sustains the animal, but the seed of the peach, in the shell, goes through the entire digestive tract, no matter what animal it is, totally unscathed, totally in one piece. And then the animal, gets whatever after it finishes with its meal, whatever it is, the garbage goes out, and that seed of the peach, whatever it is, comes out. And lo and behold, a miracle. What happens is that that closed thing, that the welding between the two shells is so tough. If you were to take a hammer and you would bang that seed, chances are you would break the shell, not the seam. The seam is harder than the two shells that it connects together. Yet what happens?
The inside.
No, the outside.
The outside.
The outside, there are two. It's not only that the outside is very hard, but the thing that connects the two shells together. It's some kind of, they're not one piece, they're two pieces that are glued together.
Oh,
That glue is tougher than the shells themselves.
Yeah.
You know what happens? It falls on the ground, and when it hits the ground, very quickly, what didn't happen with all the acids in the stomach of the animal, the side that hits the ground opens up. The seam opens up, only the side that hits the ground. So what happens is that it opens up like a butterfly. And when it's doing that, it is digging into the ground. It's digging into the ground and it's planting the seed. And while it's super sensitive, it covers it up. Open up like it covers it up. Until the seed, catches on and grow up, and then it's astonishing. I remember I told my wife that the Shulchan Aruch says, that Sefer Yetziros, the Gemara says about Chazal creating a person, a goylem, and that the Shvatim, they made an animal from Sefer Yetzirah, and Yosef saw them eating part of this animal without killing the animal first. So he told Yaakov Avinu that they are eating Ever Min HaChai. He said, but it was an animal that was created by Sefer Yetzirah from the letters of the alphabets. So you can say You can argue whether Yosef knew it was created Sefer Yetzirah or not. But there's also a side that said that the machlokes, what the halacha is. You know, if an animal was created Sefer Yetzirah, is the shaykh ever min achayim, not shaykh ever min achayim. Said it doesn't matter. But the point is, when I told my wife this, you know, she sort of like rolled her eyes and said, "Listen, I'm a simple woman. You know, these kind of things. It's like, you're telling me this kind of fantastic, you know, miracles of people creating an animal, the Sefer Yetzirah." So I told her that thing with the seed. I said, "This you understand? you get this kind of miracle, you understand?"
What
That is, yeah, with the whole thing that goes, the animal eats it, goes through the digestive tract, whatever it is, falls on the ground, then it opens up, digs itself in, and plants it. This you understand? You can wrap your mind around this. That's where you have the problem about, you know, chachamim that they're so wise they can create another animal. That's where your problem is. I said, everything you look around you is one big pella. It's just as constant, so you get used to it. So you're saying, yeah, okay, no, I like him, not like. But the truth of the matter is, everything is a pella. Everything is a total wonder.
You see, I used to feed squirrels as a boy, and if the nut was too hard, they would go to a place and they would bury it. So we get some, they would remember, I guess, to come back for it. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but what the point of the Baal HaTanya is that afterwards the tree grows from it. The tree's just a tree. I mean, just a tree. I mean, tzedar, it's a tree. This is about the seed. The seed is such a sophisticated, unbelievable concept. It's so that this doesn't matter if it's a seed of a tree or it's a seed of a person. You know, so Mimela, the seed is much more elevated, much more sophisticated, much more, you know, complex in concept than the tree that actually grows from it, or the person that's actually born from it. It says, however, you know, because the person is Gashmistic, a person, it's a person, it's good, it's bad, whatever, it's a person. It says, but nevertheless, the identity, the closeness in concept between the Father and the Son, between them, far supersedes the closeness of the drop. The drop is, okay, that's something that came out. You know, it's a very sophisticated mechanism, whatever, but the Son is mamish one with the brain of the Father. So basically what we have here, any kind of trait is a manifestation of the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fear is the fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Tiferes is the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so forth and so on. Now, the thing is that we are living in a world, and this world is Mishon Ha'elam, it's covered, it's concealed, and we don't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu here. We see the stake. That we see. Or we see our wives. Or we see whatever it is that excites us. The thing is that the ultimate goal is to strip the gashmis from all the things that the midas fell down to, and elevate them to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Basically, use the love. The love is basically to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fear is there for you to be afraid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to have awe from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The glory is for you to be Megala, the greatest of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to you know the Tiferes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and so forth and so on. All the way down to the Malchus, which is to be Megala, the kingdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is the ultimate goal that we came to the world. Now, what happens if we welsh on it? I mean, we sort of like goof off a little bit, or a lot. That causes shame. Shame is the diametrically opposed concept to oinig, to pleasure. The problem is that when a person pursues loves, they're called ahavas nefulus, is a fallen loves, it produces shame. Because it's not a pure love. The Zohar Kodesh says that in talks about a korban oilo, different kind of korbanos. He says the korban oilo goes totally to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and it says that a korban oilo is akin to a bride being with her husband. Okay, so she gets totally unclothed because the occasion is so completely kodesh. It's total mitzvah. That's all it is, just complete mitzvah. So there's no shame involved. But any other, he says, this is korban oilo. Everything gets, there's nothing is left behind. Okay, different kind of parts go, different people eat it, koyanim eat it, whatever it is. That's akin to certain levushim that are not taken off. A person goes around his house. A person usually doesn't go around the house in underwear, Nor does the wife do that, because it's not that kedusha intimacy. That's not the kodesh kodeshim that occurs in the chasana night. We're there. In any other occasion, there will be a lot of embarrassment involved, shame. The lower you take the ahava, the deeper it steeps in where it's not supposed to be. The more intense is the busha that comes out of it, that it produces. The Rebbeinu says in Sichas Haran about people that have, licentious thoughts, improper thoughts, immoral thoughts, fantasies. Person could be in his 90s and still have them. It's not a question of age.
No.
It's not a question of age.
Yeah.
You can be 90 and have these kind of fantasies. It's nothing to do with that. Rabbeinu laughs at this. So what kind of a shtus is it? It says, let's say a person is not in his 90s. A person is in an age that is more shaykh to him. Says, would you be willing to be caught with someone il flagrante, whatever you call it, in the deed? No normal person would want, to be caught, Hashem Yirachem. What busha is involved in that? Person thinks in his own mind, nobody sees me, nobody says, whatever it is, it's hidden, whatever it is. But Kishmo is in your mind. There is shame involved. And the thing that the shame does is it shatters the heart. What does it mean that it shatters the heart? Rabbeinu says in Torah Chav Beis that we'll learn on Wednesday nights. That because it says Vasiroti Yislev Erev Sochem and Sati Lechem Lev Basar. So remove the stone heart from your, from you and give you a heart of flesh. A Lev Basar is euphemism for a heart that feels, a sensitive heart. Heart that is open, to aid to somebody else, of course. ultimately, Rabbeinu says over there, it's a heart that opens to the voice, to the illumination of your own neshama. So he says over there that the neshama and the body are not just, okay, you have a body, you have a neshama. What the neshama does, we don't know, but whatever, it's around. And with the body, you want Torah, and you do mitzvahs, whatever it is. When you leave this world, bada bim, bada boom, you get the schar, Baruch Hashem, everything is good. And he says it's much deeper than that. He says there is an interrelation that goes on between the neshama and the body while you are alive. He says a person needs, the neshama, he needs to make it possible for the neshama to illuminate the body while, from all the sagas that the neshama attains. Because the neshama attains all the time tremendous things. The neshama is part of the Baruch Hu. It's like a tremendous thing, the neshama, but the body is coarse. The body is lev even. The body is so crude, it's so impregnable to ruchnius. Why? Because of taivas, because of taivas that fell, because of the busha. When you see a person that, even a person that has some bias problems, sits with his wife, as we started with saying here, and the wife slams into him, digs into him. All women do it, especially Jewish ones. And they dig into what happens to you? You freeze. And chances are that you scream back. You scream back. Why do you scream back? Why do you scream back? She's being Ezer connected. The reason why I'm not able to accept that is because of shame. Because the thing that the way that women talk cause men to feel is inadequate. I'm a failure. I'm just not good. She makes me feel like 2 cents. Like I'm absolutely no good. So what is the shouting that I'm doing back? I'm resisting. I'm trying to push off the shame. Needless to say, it doesn't solve anything. That's her job. That's her job. The job is to be Ezer, what connected, because otherwise it's not Tov. You cannot become Tov. So if you resist it, let alone kick it, let alone speak to her in a way that is hurtful just to get her away from your back, because you feel so ashamed, you feel so worthless, you just want to just say something and really hurt her so she'll just go away. And obviously you're missing opportunities to become better. But what do you want to do? What do you want to do? On yesterday we spoke, and I was absolutely certain that we reached an understanding. Today it's like we've never spoken. What's going on? The answer is that my wife is the way she is. A woman does not speak the way men speak.
Doesn't
Speak the way men do. She's not your chavrusa. She's your wife. And if she digs into you, the reason for it, obviously in a relationship, is to test whether you decide to be with her. Wilhelm Glaser likes to put it in those terms. He says whether the fact that you're with her is because you decided to marry him, And until you haven't decided differently, you're still married. But it's a decision as opposed to commitment. A decision is the Seichel Dik is saying, why do you decide like this? Because there's a reason. What happens if the reason changes? You make a different decision. Commitment, it's not being unreasonable, it's being disreasonable. Reasons don't matter. I'm committed. It's not totally whether there is a reason or there isn't a reason, as if it doesn't change because it's commitment. When my wife speaks to me in a way that makes me feel really bad about myself, the thing for me to do at that point in time is just sit there and be present. It's Avodas Hashem. Because that's the way she processes it. That's the way that women process it. They don't forget. They never forget. You said something, you think that enough time passed, and then almost human being will forget it. You got another thing coming. They don't forget.
They go back to gracious.
Absolutely.
Don't bring up gracious.
They never forget. They never forget until it's processed. If you're just sitting there, and because you're committed, it makes me feel not good. Okay. I let it come in. Go ahead. Just comes in. I really don't feel good. It really doesn't feel good, but it's okay. It's okay. It cleanses me. Usually, if my wife would say something to me that hurts my feelings, it's because I actually had some ahavas nefulos, fall in loves, going somewhere else. And the woman doesn't miss such things. Your wife knows you better than anybody, better than you know yourself. She just doesn't have the words to tell you what she knows. What she knows. Everything, always. So when you have let your mind wander, let alone your eyes wander, let alone your mouth wander, let alone your body wander, in Havas Nefulos, you're getting a bit of purgatory right here in this world. Your wife is going to dig right into you. Stay with it. It's a purifying, definitely it's a purifying. And ultimately, if you don't buck to protect yourself, to protect the way you feel, to the shame, you're willing to feel the shame. Your wife also has the ability to realize when you mean it, when you're serious. So when you come up with your new fantasies, you want to do this, you want to do that, whatever, this, that. So you with your Michigas and whatever it is, no way, over my dead body, forget about it. No, woman, what am I talking about? Forget about it. No. The thing is that what it does, it cleanses off the chaff, the shavings. It just leaves what you really mean. It leaves the toiv. A woman recognizes the toiv. And if you are in a true toiv, you're committed. You're not there because you decided to be with her. You're there because you're committed to being with her. And that takes, take the pleasant with the unpleasant. But what's toiv? You don't argue. You don't lash back. You don't protect your busha. Feel it. That's ikar tshuva, right? You should be saying it. It's not an easy thing, right? But nevertheless, it enables you.
How's that different than what we're saying here?
So here,
I saw here it says Nekuda Shach Belibo Vetazo.
so we haven't even gotten there yet. We just talked about that the cherpa is shown on the left. We're not even talking about the answer. We're talking about the problem still. But there's at least one more shear to get through, to the answer that Rabbeinu gives. Okay, so what do you do about it? Basically, when we spoke, the truth is that we spoke about it as well. When I just pictured to you the confrontation between, let's say, me and my wife, okay? The thing that hurts me is the cherpa, is the busha. But by connecting to my commitment to her and realizing that there's something there. There's something there that I need to, it's okay. I need to go through this.
Commitment.
Commitment means that I'm willing to take this, I'm connecting
It's a
myself.
positive thing that you're thinking about instead of the herpa.
I'm willing, no. I don't avert my eyes from the fact. I'm feeling it. But I'm willing to feel it because she's my wife. She's being her, who she is. She's not going to become somebody else. She's not. News for you. She's not going to become somebody else. What's more, she's my wife, which means she's the one who really fits me in a mysterious way, which is even more mysterious than that seed of the, whatever. That means that I'm connecting to the Nakuda, the grain of truth that really is the kernel of that situation. I don't stray to, oh, I like it. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, it makes me feel awful. Oh, okay. I don't go off and tell you want. Okay, fine. But that means that I'm going to pay for it afterwards. It doesn't going to go away. It isn't going to go away. Realizing what is actually happening is being makasher myself to the Nakuda, to the real Nakuda, but this emes with Shaykh at that particular point in time. Which is what? Which is, I'm committed. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to feel the cherpa. Because the cherpa only comes from a habas nefulos. That's the only reason why cherpa comes. I'm not going to dig into psychological, psychologizing, all that. I'm not going to get into this. And Yisurim below over, Rabbeinu says. And he says, and any kind of Yisurim that don't have an Avera behind them, it says, it's not Yisurim. It's not suffering. The suffering ingredient of the situation is from Averas, from oven.
Even the Yisurim of Ava, of Eretz?
Bevadai, Adove.
Yisurim Shalava?
Shalava, that's something else. We all have Yisurim Shalava. We all have different kinds of Yisurim. But when we are having a situation when we are resisting, sometimes violently, or at least loudly, to these kind of meetings that are not, that there's busha involved. Busha is an outcome of a havas nefulis. I took the havas Hashem and I put it where it does not belong. So that's the tikkun. I don't have to, what did I do, what I didn't know, whatever. Usually if you make it right, you should find out what you did between you and yourself. That's what Rabbeinu speaks about in this time. To actually pinpoint, Okay, so I did wrong, but what? What did I do wrong? There's a technique of finding out, and usually there's a, but anyhow, Ad Khan, B'ezrat Hashem, good enough for this week. It's a shame. I hope that next week we'll start on time. Okay?
We can start on time.
I understand I can start on
Wait
time.
for us.
Uh,
I don't know who's gonna be all the Kohat Falat Kashot, right?
That's okay.
Okay.
Let me just see, how do I stop this?